I kept thinking of I just need that one big shot. But it's not that. Like, you don't really need a big shot.
Start before you're ready. The way Jesus started his ministry was not on his own terms. It's just like if anybody's going to start something and do it and launch the right way and do it the right way and have all the ducks in line and do all the things, like it's Jesus, right? The Son of God. Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to Dynamic Range. I am so excited that you're here. I'm so excited that I'm here. And in this podcast, what we want to do is we want to encourage and inspire entrepreneurs and creatives to create, to cultivate, and conquer in their respective fields. So if that sounds like something you want to do, you're in the right place. And welcome to Dynamic Range. And so today, like most days, we're going to have a special co-host. And this guy is like none other. I think everybody needs a friend like Alfredo. Man, we've walked through so much life together. Not that you care, but I care, so I'm going to tell you. And we've known each other for probably about 8 years now. We used to work together at a church. Now we're both doing our own respective creative field, business ownership type things. And I just thought he would be a absolute perfect co-host for Dynamic Range. So please welcome Alfredo Briones.
Bro, what kind of you beat me to I was about to speak about you because you see what people don't know about Steven privately is the same person publicly
Man,
and I just want to say if you know Steven, that's who you get. You're going to have the same person no matter where you're at, and if accountability needs to take place, Steven's right there as well. So I just want to say, first of all, I told you this on our call, but I'm gonna let you know now publicly. I appreciate you for trusting me in this journey with you because this isn't. I don't want this to be just another podcast. I want there to be an impact, and I'm just grateful. I'm thank you for trusting, and I know we have a collaborative approach to this, but I'm here to give it 100%. So appreciate you, man, and I'm excited for this podcast. Welcome to Dynamic Range. This is
episode
crazy.
one.
We were talking about this a while ago, so
Yeah.
I'm glad we finally cultivated,
Yes,
conquered
sir.
a few things,
Yeah.
and finally
Hey,
were able to create this.
absolutely. Because it is, speaking in terms of dynamic range and kind of our three pillars of create and cultivate and conquer, the big thing is, man, people get excited to create. People get excited about the new shiny toy, the shiny object syndrome, the gear acquisition syndrome, but it's just like how many people buy new things or do new things or start new ventures, in that
Mm.
create environment, but they don't cultivate it, and then it's just kind of gets created and gets dropped off and ends up, fading away.
That's a
So
great conversation opener because it leads me to this. I wanted to ask you this. So
yeah, yeah,
with being creatives, we're constantly creating ideas, and
hmm
we're sometimes not even sure if this is a good idea or not. How did we, before we even talk about what dynamic range means to us, or why did we even decide to take this journey? What made you stick to this idea, and why did you hold on to this?
yeah. I mean, sometimes I still wonder, like, man, is this a good idea? I'm still fleshing that out, to be honest. But I think ultimately, man, I've just had so many conversations with friends over the past, couple years. I mean, we've moved from the Atlanta area to Tennessee about 4 years ago now, really almost 4 years to the day. But just been in this space of entrepreneurship and building my business and been having a lot of conversations with so many different friends. And man, I feel like so many of my friends and so many people in my circle are just kind of like stuck where they are.
Mm.
And it's just like kind of afraid to get out of the boat, to step out and really believe in themselves to do what they feel like they actually want to do and what they need to do. And so that's kind of like where this idea started, was I want to inspire people and I want to encourage people that, hey, like if God put it in your heart, He's already given you internally everything that you need. It's your job to flesh it out. And so with this podcast, I just want to be able to encourage those people who may be on the fence of starting their own business, jumping in the creative field, picking up a camera for the first time, whatever stage of life that you're just kind of like, I don't know if I should do this. Like, let this be your catalyst, right? And in chemistry, a catalyst is something that simply speeds up a chemical process. So you already have the ingredients, the catalyst just hops in there, and then all of a sudden the chemical reaction happens faster. And so that's really what I want this to be, is a launching pad and a catalyst for people to really ignite their dreams and to be able to walk out their calling, whether that's in the creative space or the business space or whatever kind of space. That's just kind of where I live, so that's what I think. So I mean, that's kind of where this idea came from, and man, we're just gonna rock with it, see where it goes.
No, I love it because I remember, I think a while ago when you initiated this vision, I think when I brought it up to you after that, you were kind of hesitant. Then you were like, "No, I'm ready. Let's do it." And then now you were just all in. And so I love that, bro. I think for me, my my goal for this and for what I want to bring to this table, I've made a lot of mistakes in business as well. We're still learning.
As
There's
well, what
still,
you talking about, bro?
what's that,
You
what?
throw me in that boat.
No, yeah, right. Uh, no, bro, I've made so many mistakes. I'm learning as we go, and you don't realize you're an entrepreneur until you're really in it. Or at least for me, now that I would say what 6, 7 years. I don't know
Yeah.
how many now full time, but yeah, I mean, I think I've reached a place now where it isn't as scary as it used to feel, or maybe I've come to accept, okay, it's not that bad anymore. I don't know why I keep trying to survive when there's not much, you know, going on that's negative or whatever. But long story short, I'm here to help those that, you know, like you said, speed up their process, really help them maybe not make the same mistakes that I wish someone would have helped me throughout my journey. And yeah, we're here, and I appreciate everyone getting on here, taking the time to even listen to this first episode. The first one's always nerve-wracking because you have to start. You gotta go ahead and do it. You're gonna
Hey,
make little mistakes here and there, but we're here. So
absolutely. There's a channel that I used to follow on YouTube called Think Media, and their mantra is like, you just got to press record.
hit
And
record.
here we are. I mean, that's what we're doing. We're just pressing record or rolling, and we're getting this thing off the ground. So I'm excited that you're here, excited that you're on this journey with us. And so we're by no means experts in the business or creative fields. And I
Not at
think if
all.
anybody calls himself an expert, I don't know, man. I mean, they're true, genuine experts. But for most of the people out there, I'm just excited that you're along this journey with us, this journey of growing and becoming of who we are, becoming what our businesses want to be, and I'm just excited. So, just wanted to start off like with this whole premise of dynamic range, right? We're trying to come up with this podcast name. We want it to be something in the creative space, and we had a few different ideas kind of rolling out with the names, and I kept blowing Alfredo up one day. I'm just like,
A few
I
days.
mean, it was a lot of different ideas, and then of course I send them about probably 10 to 15 different possible names, and then he comes back in all caps and says dynamic range, and I'm like,
That's it.
that's it, that is it. So
It's a wrap. We're
yeah,
calling it.
it just set right with me. I think it sat right with him, and the more I started to really dive into this whole idea of dynamic range, and you may not even know what dynamic range is,
The depths
um,
of it.
and so if even just generally, so basically like from because we're both filmmakers. Alfredo's a filmmaker, photographer, and so basically the number one setting, the number one quality of a camera that most people look at when they're wanting to buy a new camera is dynamic range. And you may think, oh, does it shoot 4K? Does it do 120 frames a second? Does it, does it shoot in burst mode? I don't know, photography stuff, but, but really it's dynamic range. And what is dynamic range? And basically, dynamic range is the camera's ability to
Ratio of the
capture and reproduce the light. And so the bigger the dynamic range, the more light that the camera is able to capture, and the more of the image that you can see from the camera. So basically, if you're outside shooting in the bright sun, you need to shoot, something in the shadows. It can show the details in the shadows and keep the highlights of the sky at the same time. And so the more dynamic range you have, the better off, the more image that you can show. And so you may be familiar with dynamic range. If you're outside and you're on your phone taking a photo and you see the little HDR symbol pop up, that stands for high dynamic range. And anyway, so basically, dynamic range is the camera's ability to capture light. And so with that, we want this podcast to really grow your dynamic range. What's
I
your
think,
dynamic
yeah,
range?
I
What are you
think
able to capture?
exact. I think the metaphor for us, or at least for me, what it represents is that the more light we can capture, it we'll be able to see the depths of the shadows as well, or just
Hmm.
the the darkness of our business, or just things that we may not be too familiar with, or maybe we don't have that level of ratio yet. But that's that's dynamic range for me, at least.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of times, especially in this world, we want to show off the highlights,
Mm.
right? We want to hop on the gram, post on YouTube, all the wins, all the conquering moments. But really, again, what we want to show through this podcast and what we want to help share is not only the highlights, not only conquering moments, but like what's it like during the creation?
Right.
What's it like during the cultivation? We just bought some new flowers for our mailbox and like landscaping by the house. And the kids were super excited to run through the nursery and try to pick out the flowers that they like the best. And then we ended up buying some that they were happy with, some that they weren't happy with, but they were all excited to get their hands dirty, right, in the creation process and actually like dig in the ground for the first two or three.
Oh yeah.
And then like we probably bought, I think, maybe 10 or 12 different plants. And so the first two or three were great. They were fighting over who wants to dig. They were fighting over, who can put the plant in the ground, who can put the dirt in. But like when it came to the end, everybody was scattered. Everybody was running around doing something different. And I think that again just speaks to the whole creation phase, and then it gets to the cultivation, right? Of okay, now we have to water these plants. Now we have to take care of them. Now we have to do all these things to make sure that these plants grow. And
Mm.
how many times again do we forget to do those things, or just say, oh, it's not important today, we don't have to do it today, one day is not that big of a difference. But yeah, just the whole premise, man, we just want to be able to show the whole spectrum of being in the creative field and being in business.
No, and this is what's interesting to me. You bring up the about the flowers. I'm reading a book right now that, and not to get too in depth about it, but just the way it was talk. Basically, in a nutshell, it's about this man that knows how to plant. I guess like he does. He's an expert in pumpkins, so he knows how to grow the biggest pumpkins. I know it's super random,
Or
but
he needs to put that pumpkin at Dollywood because they got some big comeuppance up there in
well, I
Dollywood.
think that's where it derives from. But I can't. I'm just starting on this book. But longer story short, he's talking about how in business you need to cut off the pumpkins in your business that are maybe killing the good pumpkins, or there's just some inventory that we may need to do. And so sometimes you could be planting other other business things, and maybe that's what's hurting your
Mhm.
primary. But it just it led me to that thought because you were talking about the plants. But I was gonna say something else, and it was about you just said the last thing. Oh, that yeah, like I'm good with, there's gonna be those weeks where it's gonna be hard, and we want to talk about it.
Yeah, 100%.
There's so much that Steven and we've had endless conversation stories, and just so much that we've just kind of learned as we continue to go and grow. But yeah,
Yeah, I mean, for real, this podcast is just really an excuse for us to force ourselves to have a conversation every week.
no, seriously.
I mean, generally it happens, but yeah, it's just a scheduled time to get together, to talk shop, to talk business, and have a little bit of a topic to guide us. So with that, I wanted to talk something that's been pretty heavy on my heart. This whole idea of start before you're ready. What's that mean to you?
Mm. Start before you're ready. Well, I think preparation plays a key.
Yep.
Sometimes sometimes you don't know when to start, even if you're not
So true.
ready. But I think mindset now, yes, I would say preparation is key. So I think sometimes God preps you, and if you're not ready, sometimes you'll still get a push.
Mm-hmm.
If the pipes burst, if you weren't ready for it, the blessing may overwhelm you, but you have to be somewhat prepared. You kind of have to have a plan, but even then, your
Mm-hmm.
plans could go left.
Your plane can go left, that's for sure. And that, dude, that's honestly like this perfect segue. So there's this quote by this guy named Myron Golden, and he quotes Abraham Lincoln. I don't remember the full quote from Abraham Lincoln, but Myron Golden talks about, he says, life will happen to you, or your moment will come whether you're ready or not.
Mm,
And this moment could either reveal you or it can expose you. And he says, I'd much rather in that moment prepare myself because my moment is coming. And so I want that moment to reveal me, to reveal who I am, to reveal what I know, to reveal what I put my trust in, who I put my trust in. Instead of it, like you said, instead of like the pipes bursting and it exposes me. I want to have that integrity to where I've got the good pipes. Whatever comes my way, I know that my infrastructure will be able to take care of what's happening in and around me. And I just think that's so crucial. Like you said, you're always preparing. You should always be preparing. Not doom and gloom. Hey, the world's going to end, or the market's going to collapse. But we should always be prepared. I mean, even the Bible talks about being ready in and out of season, right?
right.
And that's also something that I felt like when I heard that quote, and then I thought about this whole idea of starting before you're ready. I thought about how Jesus started his ministry, right? You remember that John chapter 2, they're in this wedding back in the day in the Jewish culture. It was like, a week long event, which I'm glad, bro, we're not shooting any of those weddings because that, whew,
Honestly, yeah,
that's beside the fact. Me and Fredo, we shoot a lot of weddings and I love it. But man, to do a week long thing, that would be insane.
that would be.
Anyway, but Jesus is at this wedding, right? And he's there with his mom and his family, and all of a sudden they run out of wine, which is a big like no in the Jewish culture. And so Jesus' mom looks at him and says, "Hey, like, take care of this." And he's like, "Mom, like my time hasn't come yet. You don't
Mm,
understand. Like if I do this really won't change much for you, but it changes everything for me. Now I'll become like the guy, right? I'll become the miracle worker. Now I won't be able to walk around in public. Now I won't be able to do these things that I really enjoy doing, right? And so really what Jesus is saying, like, hey, I'm not ready yet. Now's not my time. But what happened was is he obeyed his mom, and he turned the water into wine, and there's so much behind that we can maybe get into another podcast. But really,
Yeah.
what stuck out to me is like the way Jesus started his ministry was not on his own terms. It's just like if anybody's going to start something and do it and launch the right way and do it the right way and have all the ducks in line and do all the things, like it's Jesus, right? The Son of God. But here he is, and he's just thinking he's going to a wedding. And little did he know that life had a moment for him, or maybe he did know. I mean, I don't know.
I was about to ask
Fully
you that.
God, fully man. But anyway, that's a whole different deep
What if
dive.
you, I wonder if
Um,
you did know. That's my question.
you know, I,
Yeah.
I don't know, but
No, but I get that. I see what you're saying, and that, with just starting alone, I think sometimes as well we could. What if we're not sure if it's time to start? Like, how did you figure out
mhm.
when you started, Stephen? How did you figure out that this is what I want to do, or this is it? Like, when
When
was
I
that
started, what
moment?
do you mean when I started? Like when I went full
Yeah,
time, or when I
create.
picked up the
No, I mean
camera?
just picked up your first camera. I think we should start there because people need to hear as well your side of your
Yeah,
story when you first picked up that first camera.
dude, I don't remember, man. And you hear a lot of people like in this space who are great photographers, great filmmakers, great creatives, and like, oh, I'm always the one running around with the camera as a kid and creating these home movies. Like that really wasn't me. My dad had a pretty big hobby into photography in the sense of more of the gas side of things. He liked
Yeah.
to have the nice cameras and stuff, but like didn't really take a lot of photos or do photo shoots or things like that. But really, what it was my first kind of exposure to video was through my brother, who's 18 months older than me, and so I grew up as Jonathan's little brother everywhere I went, whether I was on the basketball court, baseball field, at school, at church, bro, it didn't matter. Like I was Jonathan's little brother. And so what he ended up taking this class in high school. It was a TV class. And he got to hang out with all of his buddies and pull other friends out of school, out of their classes to shoot these music videos and things like that. And so I'm like, man, that sounds like fun. I'd love just to kick it for one out of 4 periods in the school day to do these music videos and just be creative. And so that's kind of where it started. And from there, it kind of branched out into I felt pretty good about where I was, what I was doing. Didn't always feel the most creative. Didn't always feel like I had the best project ideas, but felt like my execution was top notch. Like my edits were tight, and but again, just kind of feeling that imposter syndrome in high school. And then it came time for college, and I was like, man, if I'm going to go to college, I want to do something that I enjoy. And so ended up going to Lee University. Shout out Flames, go Flames.
Go.
And that's really kind of where I started to cultivate that gift and that calling. Was majored in telecommunications, so people were like, "Man, what are you going to do? Work for AT&T or Verizon when you're out of college with your telecommunications degree?" And like, no, man, I want to do TV stuff. I want to be a TV editor. I want to do TV production. And so, anyway, that's kind of where I cut my teeth. Where I ended up growing a ton was honestly, bro, being able to use my camera as an instrument for worship.
Okay.
And that may sound weird, but in high school, I played in the high school praise team band. So I was used to being in worship services and being out in the crowd and raising my hands and doing those things and jumping and dancing to worship. And then all of a sudden, now I'm on the stage in this dark stage way in the back, playing the guitar, right? And I'm having to figure out like, man, this is a new way to worship. How do I'm not free because I have a job. I have a responsibility now to play the guitar, to carry my weight in this worship service. So how do I really worship through this instrument? And so it kind of junior, senior year of high school, was able to learn how to worship through playing my guitar. And then fast forward to college, I was the video historian for this worship choir that I was in. And so again, it's kind of the same thing. Like half the time I'd be on stage singing, worshiping, and then other times like it was again my weight, my responsibility to capture the moments of what was happening in a service or happening on the bus or happening around tour. You know, whether
Yeah.
we go to Washington D.C. or up to New York or down to Florida, and we even went to Ireland and Scotland and England, doing all these things. Just like, man, I felt like I couldn't, maybe not that I couldn't fully enjoy every moment, but the weight was different for me. It was my job to capture these moments.
Well,
And
it
so
definitely
again,
is a lot. And sorry to cut you off, but
no, no.
it's a lot challenging. Yeah, when you're out there shooting, filming, taking photos, it's a lot different when you're capturing that versus actually being present. And I
Hmm.
think as creatives, sometimes, yeah, that could be a challenge. Like people may think you're there, but you're really there thinking about the technical side of your
Hmm.
lens or just what angle you're going to use or what. But no, I was going to say before we even, because you mentioned about being represented did you say your brother's name was Jonathan? So you
Yeah.
were little Jonathan
Yep.
before you went from little Jonathan to Stephen. I think there comes a moment where, or at least in my journey, I felt like, you know, I think as creatives, sometimes we continue to follow through with once we hear, when we get someone to acknowledge our work, or when you hear the
Hmm.
comments, the not the comments on Instagram, but just like, at least for me, once you start hearing, wow, those photos are amazing, that video,
Hmm.
who filmed that? For you, Steven, did you feel like, how did you accept, like, I'm good at this? Because I think like that's a never ending challenge as a creative, when we're battling with it, am I even good at this, or is it just because people are telling me I'm good? Or does this make sense, or is this another podcast that I got a lot of
Bro,
questions in the morning. We should have never done the podcast in the morning.
we have to do it in the morning because if not, bro, it's not gonna happen.
It's not
Um,
realistic other than this time.
so basically, like, how did wait? Rephrase the question one more
So
time for me.
as a creative, I think sometimes we're we're not sure if we're pursuing it because of the validations, or
Hmm.
because we truly believe that we're good at it. Like, when was that turning point for you, when you realized, like, I'm I'm like, there's a gave me this gift, like this is something that I'm taking serious. Like, what was that? Just like, how did that happen for you, I guess, is
Yeah,
what I'm
no, that's great, and it comes back to that time in college of being the video historian. I mean, I felt like I was pretty gifted
Yeah.
in like more so the technical. I think that's a lot of like the Japanese in me, just like very linear. I can get
Solving
very
the
linear.
problem. Yeah.
Yeah, very linear in my thinking, very clean in my edits and things of that nature. So like technically, like I felt like okay, we can do this. I can make it happen. But more from like the deeper meaning side of things, I really felt called to document the gospel in that season of being the video historian, like capturing these moments, and it really taught me how
Hmm.
to be present in the moment while capturing and using my camera as an instrument. And so that's one thing that I really felt proud of, was just kind of the ability to be able to be capturing and still be present in moments. And so it was more, honestly, bro, it was more so like a calling, to be able to do that. And 1 second, my baby's up.
It's all good.
Hey, Margot.
There we go.
Hey, Margie. This is Margot.
Hello, Margot. Good
Margot's 2,
morning.
and she's my
You made
baby.
it right on time for the
Yeah.
podcast. We're talking about your amazing.
Yeah. What are we doing?
I
What are we
I
doing?
I
Hey,
think
Willow.
I think for me, just a quick dive in. It's a lot more context to it, but as I The reason I'm asking you that question is because, maybe just for me, or I could speak for others,
Yeah.
but I wasn't always fully confident in
Mhm.
my craft or in my work, or I didn't even know I was good at it, because you hear people telling you you're good at it, but I
Mhm.
wanted to truly believe that for myself, and it took me some time to really accept, okay, God, you've given me this gift, and
Mhm.
I am not, you know, I'm not fully embracing it like you've given it to me, or I know you called me to this, because I picked up my first camera when I was 8 years old, and
Wow.
I remember ever since then, like, I never put a camera down. And a lot of times, what people don't realize is I got good at talking in person because I talk so much to a camera. I didn't have no one to talk to at that time. I was a kid.
Bro, you're backwards, man.
Exactly. And so I think I was just more so, I spent a lot of time indoors just creating. I
Mhm.
remember even at that age, at 10, trying to, I got so, it grabbed my attention when I even learned what a green screen was, and I didn't know how to deal with it, but it just grabbed my attention, and I just remember messing with everything, and
Mhm.
I didn't have, like I said, the confidence since the beginning, or even throughout the journey. I think for me, yeah, since a very young age, I do remember accepting, like, I'm gonna do this for the rest of my life. I don't know why, but I
Wow.
love this, and I truly picked up the camera for what it was. Like, I was just intrigued by I guess, the feeling of once you saw the photo, or when
Mhm.
someone in the family would say, "Oh, let's sit," well, back then it was, you had to go print them out at Walmart, but I was the camera guy in the family. And so
Yeah.
I think I even started, not to go any further, but I started YouTube back when '06, when YouTube first started.
Yo,
Like,
I didn't know that.
yeah, like, I was just on there doing skits. I mean, I didn't take it too far, but I was out there doing
Yeah.
videos. And so I think, to me, that's why it's became so easy to just hit record now. But I didn't get here, from one day to another. It took more than 15 years for sure. And yeah,
Yeah.
so again, I think you just know when you know.
You know, and you're knower is what they say in the
Yeah,
church sometimes.
there you go.
Um, but yeah, man, like I guess what would you say to somebody who may be on the fence of like, man, should I pursue this, or should I charge for my first shoot, or what would you say to somebody who may feel that like imposter syndrome, like I'm not good enough, nobody's gonna pay for this, but I do really enjoy this, and I do feel like I am good, but like, man, why would somebody pay for my work? Kind of
Yeah.
what would you tell somebody's on that fence?
And we got to be okay with the silences. I love I love when sometimes you just have to think. So for me, I would say, at least, kind of my journey, I feel as if, I did a someone asked me actually 2 days ago, like, how do you get these more um bigger jobs, or how do you
Mhm.
get the retainers? How do you get the monthly? And to be honest, it sounds cheesy, corny, whatever you want to call it, but it's a lot of, I did a lot of free work, a lot of free work
Oh
of
man.
putting myself out there.
Well, we're gonna dive deep into that
Yeah,
later on.
no, seriously, because I think a lot of that free work eventually paid off, but of
Mhm.
course it takes a lot of discipline to even want to do free work. But I think, starting out, for someone, the question you just gave me, Stephen,
Mhm.
I would I wouldn't, if you're just starting out, I wouldn't even have income in the picture. I know that sounds, at least for me, like, maybe that's how it happened for me, and then maybe I'm just speaking selfishly, but for me, I didn't think about money at all. I didn't even think you could make money out of this. So whenever I did start already getting paid for it, that's whenever people just started kind of coming towards inquiries, and it just started
Mhm.
flowing without me forcing that side of like, when do I start getting. I think when you focus too much on when do I start getting paid, I think that's when you kind of you're out of focus, or at least for me. But on a more corporate response, sorry, Steven, if this response isn't that good, but that's my response. On a more simple level, I would say just keep doing some free work, and
Yeah,
try to just eventually, like, it's not even a that's a mistake I made too. I kept thinking of, I just need that one big shot, but it's not
mhm,
that. Like, you don't really need a big shot. You just need a selective of great people to work with. Eventually you just build it, but one big shot's not gonna it's not sustainable long term, is all I'm saying.
100%. Yeah, everybody's looking for that breakthrough, right? Everybody's looking for that, "Man, if I could just have XYZ, if I could
So,
just have Nike as my client,"
I was
right?
about yep.
If if only Gatorade saw this, if only whatever, top brand you wanna work with or top person you wanna work with, if only Peter McKinnon just DM me and said, "Hey, let's work together," just like,
Only.
you know, sure, that may happen and it may not, I don't know. But it's just like I feel like so many people wait for that moment. If somebody were to recognize me, if somebody were to reach out to me and say this, then I know, all right, I'm ready.
Yeah, absolutely.
But like you said, I think on this whole idea of like starting before you're ready is most of the time it comes out of a passion, kind of what
Mm.
you're saying, right? You didn't even think about finances. You didn't think it was even a possibility. You just wanted to do the thing. And I think if you're truly passionate about something, one, that passion's going to keep you going no matter no matter where the money comes from, that passion, you're going to keep going because you're passionate about it. And then two, that passion will continue to drive you, and you'll get better and better and better because you'll just keep putting the reps in because you're passionate about it and you care about it. And so usually the better you are, the more people will recognize your skills and your abilities, that will again more organically turn into starting to build this whole creative side of you into more of a business.
It's about making money, but it's not about money making you. So
Yeah,
I
it's
think
good.
once you get to a place where, yeah, the money's gonna flow, but when you truly stop, I know it's like I kept telling, how do I tell myself stop worrying about money if I keep worrying about money? Like, it's inevitable. Like, there's situations that happen. When you're married, you have kids, when you're in the hospital. We're gonna talk about a lot of things that we've also have dealt with on a
Yeah,
personal level. But I did just want to finalize with this. As creative, this is what's amazing about us. Even at the end of this podcast, I'm gonna go stop record. I'm gonna hit stop record. I'm gonna sit over there and overthink some of the things I answer to the questions, because that's how we are, and that's how I am. And so one thing I always want to make sure, in this journey with dynamic ranges, I want to give y'all who I am, and sometimes I'm not gonna know the answer, or sometimes I didn't even answer the question, but that's just
I feel that. I'm like, man, did I hit that? Did I hit that
exactly.
note?
But
Or
that's just what dynamic range is. We're trying to conquer, create, and cultivate.
yes, sir.
Or I don't know if I said
Create.
that correctly.
You curate, then you cultivate, then
There
you're
you
able to
go.
conquer. Yes, sir.
But
Yeah, bro. Well, Fredo, appreciate you hopping on, man. This has been honestly,
it's been great.
I don't want to call it a dream come true, but it kind of is. So
Mm.
it's just cool to be able to do this with you, to build, to grow, and to just be on this journey together, man. Shout out to Shauna Matoliak for connecting us.
Oh, yes. Shout out to
And
the Matoliacs.
dude, it's just crazy. Side
It
note
is.
slash landing the plane, but we're not really landing. It's just crazy, man. Relationships where they can take you, not really where they can take you, but how relationships form over time.
I
And
do think about that. Sorry to cut you off for the
no,
second, third time, but I wanted to ask too, or sometimes I ask myself, how do we or what helped us stay connected even though we're in different states now.
Different states, different countries at times,
Yeah,
right?
seriously. I don't know what it is about our connection, but somehow we can go a few days without talking, but once we talk, it's always like as if, you know, even when we see each other,
Yeah.
it's like I seen you yesterday.
Yeah, bro. Like the first time I saw you after you being in Mexico for a year, I was like, oh yeah, Fredo. Like, because we talk on the phone, we
Yeah.
FaceTime a lot. So it just feels like we're always connected,
No,
no
I don't
matter if
take
we see
this
each other in
lightly, man.
person.
I
So
don't take this lightly, and I don't take the viewers, the community, I don't take
yeah,
that time lightly. I appreciate y'all for tuning in and ask us some questions in the comments. Let us know what maybe you want to hear from us or any
100%.
conversations. And yeah, we're excited. I know we keep saying
Yeah.
we're excited, but we're truly excited. We are truly excited.
That's it. Yeah. So, like Fredo said, hey, if you enjoyed this episode, do all the podcast things, do all the YouTube things, like, comment, subscribe on YouTube, leave, comments are huge. I would love to hear some feedback on this first episode, especially. But yeah, subscribe on all the different major podcast networks, wherever you're watching, wherever you're listening, like, we're here. So, go ahead and do the things. And yeah, just in the meantime, as always, we encourage you, inspire you. We want you to be able to create, to cultivate, so you can conquer. So that's it.
Love it.
Episode 1, it's a wrap.
It's a wrap.
Fredo, we need a sign off of
I got to shoot in an hour or two.
an hour or two. We'll see you. Peace.
Peace.